Hi everyone. My pecha kucha will seek to discuss the psychological considerations for working with African American gifted students and will specifically discuss the factors that play a role in the success or failure of these students within the gifted setting. Before we begin, some food for thought. Though African American students represent 17.2% of the public school population, they only comprise 3.5% of the gifted population. There are a myriad of reasons for this, some of which include biased attitudes and assumptions about African American students, along with a lack of multicultural competence among school personnel. Assessment procedures that are constructed so that many African American students are missed in regards to identification, a failure to recognize cultural aspects that constitute giftedness, and students and family concerns about social isolation that may result from enrollment in gifted programs. I include this information up front because I feel that this is something to think about as we talk through the challenges associated with teaching African American gifted students. As we go through this presentation, I want you to think about this question. Are most of the issues surrounding African American gifted learners a result of the behavior and feelings of the students themselves, or do our societal beliefs and assumptions force their hand? To hopefully come up with a few ideas about how to answer this, let's dig a little deeper and talk about one of the big psychological issues facing African American gifted students, their racial identity. When we talk about African American gifted students, we need to discuss Black racial identity. Race creates bonds and feelings of peoplehood, so people often define themselves in terms of membership in a particular racial or ethnic group, such as Black, White, Hispanic, Arab, and many more. Racial identity concerns the extent to which people of color recognize and value their ethnic background and heritage. A healthy regard for one's racial status is psychologically important for people of color. Cross introduced a theory on Black racial identity that is still widely discussed today. He believes that there were a series of stages that African Americans either progress or regress on in the process of quote unquote becoming Black, starting with ambivalence toward race, moving towards an intense emotional connection with the concept of race and their race, before internalizing it and translating the feelings from it to benefit all people of color. So why discuss this? Well, if we take what we know about gifted students, such as their heightened sensitivities, their self-awareness, and their awareness of social issues, it is clear that an African American gifted student will be entrenched at one point or another in progressing through these stages towards understanding themselves. Understanding where a child may be in developing their racial identity can help to identify ways to meet their effective needs and guide them along in the process through work in the gifted classroom. Racial identity development has a big impact on the socio-emotional aspects of someone's life. Without developing, they may experience unrest and a sense of personal worthlessness. Many students will come in contact with Many students you come in contact with may only be in the first few stages of developing their racial identity. The school-age years are an important time for African American gifted learners to develop a sense of who they are. Throwing a wrench in this development is the fact that African American students encounter more barriers to racial identity development than white students, and due to their low rates of identification in gifted programs, have less of a support group to count on. Because of this, students may feel marginalized in school. When you throw in other issues such as socioeconomic backgrounds and, in respect to clothing, mannerisms, and circles of friends, they may feel further marginalized. Furthermore, in the early stages of development, many African American gifted students may deliberately underachieve and choose not to participate in gifted programs to avoid peer pressures and accusations of quote unquote acting white. As such, they may camouflage their ability in order to be socially accepted by their peers. To help meet the needs of gifted African American learners, we can seek to incorporate the following ideas and theories into our academic and effective curricula. First off, African American gifted learners search for the tangible in their schooling, such as the things that they can see, touch, and use in their day-to-day life. They prefer instructional strategies that rely on visual stimuli, such as tactile and kinesthetic learning. They enjoy real-world thinking and problem-solving situations, with highly open-ended questions that require the use of fluency and flexibility in order to come up with solutions. In particular, they like dealing with questions that they believe can help improve their lot in life. They seem to be highly in tune with Maslow's needs hierarchy, requiring that their effective needs for security, belonging, trust, competency, and a mastery in a subject be met in order to profit from learning experiences. Some other options to consider include multicultural counseling, which can help students get a better understanding of themselves as cultural and racial beings. It can help students understand and appreciate the dual identities of being gifted and diverse, and can facilitate sharing and communication amongst mixed, diverse, and white groups of students. School personnel can help to meet the needs of the gifted by seeking multicultural training that focuses on understanding cultural beliefs, values, norms, and traditions that impact teaching and learning. They can also seek to understand the history of African American culture so that that information can become an integral part of the curriculum. Teachers and administrators should seek to cultivate partnerships with parents and recognize that learners may come from a variety of different homes where parenting, socioeconomic characteristics, and valuing of school may vary. Finally, school personnel should constantly reevaluate the extent to which their curriculum and instruction affirms students' racial identities while increasing knowledge for all students. Teachers should acknowledge students' thoughts and reactions to situations that are inherently cultural in nature and recognize the turmoil that such situations produce for students. They should also seek to help African American gifted students obtain coping strategies to deal with situations like these. Teachers should also be able to integrate a child's culture into curriculum and instruction whenever possible, should foster the arts as it allows for an emotional and an aesthetic outlet which can also meet cognitive and curricular goals, and should promote extracurricular activities that promote social interaction and leadership. In conclusion, African American gifted students are in a double bind as they share needs and concerns of a gifted child along with those of being African American. In order to help them succeed, we need to actively seek to foster both aspects, academically and effectively, in order to meet all of their needs. As a reflection question, answer this for me. Do you think that most of the issues surrounding African American gifted learners are the result of the behavior and feelings of the students themselves, or do our societal beliefs and assumptions force their hand? Thank you for listening to my pecha kucha. I look forward to your responses.